batteria sul bersaglio, rilamento 255, distanza 5 miglia 8.
fuoco!
Bersaglio colpito.
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to today's show. Today we are finally reviewing this very special Citizen Promaster diver. This is quite a special watch with a very unique history behind it. But before we get into the review, I've got to give a quick shout out to my good friends who put this watch tour together. It got sent around the whole of the United States. A whole group of dedicated and very gracious members of the Facebook group and supporters of the channel all put down a little bit of money together to share their experience of the watch. So it's quite special that today I finally get to review it. So I've got to give a quick shout out to my good friend Robert in Michigan, Jeremy down in Louisiana, Jordan in Florida, Mark in California, Jared in Washington, also Paolo in Washington as well, Riley in Idaho, John in Montreal, and back to me here in New York City. So it's been on quite a journey. So let's change perspectives now and finally have a closer look at this very unique piece. Today I am reviewing the Citizen Promaster NY0040, and this of course is a very iconic and quite legendary diving watch from Citizen. This of course is from the watch tour that was initiated by my good friend Robert. So of course I've got to thank Robert and everybody who took part in the watch tour. If it wasn't for you guys, this wouldn't be happening, so I really got to thank you. And it's a watch that I've really come to love and cherish, to be honest. It's something quite unique and certainly punches way above its weight and could even give the legendary SKX at this entry-level price range a run for its money. So let's take a closer look. First of all, let's get the dimensions out of the way first. Let me just get the calipers now. Of course, I've got sellotape on the ends, as I always say, so you don't have to worry. We've got a diameter there of about 41 and a little bit millimeters. They say it's a 42, but to be honest, it wears a lot smaller. We got a thickness of just over 12 millimeters there. Going from lug to lug, we're looking at 47. And then the lug width is 20. So the size is actually quite small, and it does wear small. We'll do a wrist shot in just a moment. It's a lot more compact than the SKX, and the whole way through I'm going to be making comparisons to the SKX, because really the SKX is the king at this price range. In fact, I will be doing a duel between this and the SKX very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. So obviously we've got an entirely stainless steel case, matted on the top. The bezel itself is brushed with this quite unique grip. Immediately sets it apart from your typical diver. And of course the most unusual thing and probably its little most quirky feature is we have the crown at the 8 o'clock. The bezel is a unidirectional typical diving bezel. It's 60 click. It really is the action, you know, it's a little bit very stuttery, but it has no play whatsoever. So even though is not the most refined feeling, it's extremely solid. Also lines up beautifully. Obviously we've got a little bit bezel insert there. It's quite small and nicely protected by the bezel as well, so quite difficult to actually damage. We've got a lume pip at the 12 o'clock. This particular watch was released in 1997. And why is it so legendary? Well, it's got to do with its past. It was actually adopted by the Italian Navy, used for over 10 years by the Marina Militare from about the 90s to the mid 2000s. They actually have quite a stringent specifications and testing routine for watches that they adopt, obviously because it's for the military and people's lives are depending on these watches. They actually pressure tested this watch down to 500 meters and it passed. So it actually performs even better than what it states on the dial. Now this is an ISO certified diver and gets a lot of respect in the diving watch community. Obviously we've got everything we've come to expect in a diver. These lovely big luminescent markers. This is C3 Superluminova, of course. Very, very readable. In fact, let's just switch to a Lume Shot right now. As you can see, really outstanding lume. Very equally applied, all extremely responsive. Really nice wide application. Very easy to distinguish the two hands, the hour and the minutes. And then we have a counterbalance on the seconds, which kind of acts as the seconds in reverse. And you can actually see the seconds kind of silhouetted as they pass the big, nice, generous applied markers. So really outstanding lume, and the pip as well at the 12 o'clock is nice and responsive too. Anyway guys, that's the Lume Shot. Let's take it back to the studio. So as you can see, really good lume. Probably not as bright as a Seiko in this price range, but it lasts fairly well. Let's have a close-up at the dial. We have this very beautifully applied markers that have a nice chromed edges to them. Very, very nicely done. I've never seen hands like it, and the shape of them are very easy to differentiate. Second hand is this extremely thin arrow there. We got the day and date complication at 3 o'clock, beautifully framed in negative. The dial is a kind of glossy black, and I really like the way it catches the light. I like the way the inner chapter ring is also not too big. Something I kind of I find a little bit overbearing in the SKX. It's probably one of my only negatives. I prefer the more subtle chapter ring in the Citizen. I really like the dial. I think the dial works incredibly well. The indices, they're a little bit dated with this kind of 90s Transformer-esque look, but it's not, at the same time it's not so dated that it looks terrible. It's just a little bit weird, that's all, you know. It's just, but again, it's quite charming, and you can say it's very unique. Diver's water resistant and signed in red, which is a nice little pop of color, and then just underneath Citizen Automatic we have the red arrow logo indicating it's the Promaster. Funnily enough, it's not signed on the screw down crown here. Usually with Promasters you'd see the Promaster logo repeated on the crown, but I think at this entry level they've cut a little bit down on the cost there. Actually, I quite like the crown as it is. It has this kind of concave shape to it. I find it actually quite appealing. The only difference between this for the civilian market and of course the one for the Italian Navy is the Italian Navy one, they took away Citizen Automatic and they had the words Marina Militare on it, so you wouldn't have had Citizen on the dial. That's the only difference. The movement, everything else about the watch is exactly the same apart from that print on the dial. So basically you are getting the same watch they would have got in the military, which I think really adds a kind of cool factor to it, adds an appeal to it, adds a bit of heritage. When watches achieve these kind of things, it adds to their history, it adds to their character. It's been used by professionals. It gets extra respect because it's been proven professionally to deliver, and you know, especially in a military capacity where lives depend on it, it's worthy of respect. If we just have a quick look at the back, screw down case back, again Promaster, just very plainly etched onto the back there. Nothing fancy, which is what you come to expect. Doesn't have a deep engraving like the beautiful tsunami wave of the SKX, but to be honest, this is a tool watch. It's not supposed to be a work of art. The glass itself is a mineral crystal. It sits beautifully flush, doesn't protrude at all. I'm not sure how it compares to the SKX or other mineral crystals. The hardlex that Seiko uses certainly is a bit tougher, But at this price range, you can't really expect sapphire. I think the mineral crystal is absolutely fine, to be honest. So let's talk a little bit about the movement. Now, having the crown at 8 o'clock does change the behavior and feel of this watch quite dramatically. When you unscrew it, you're actually unscrewing it the other way around, because it's not where traditionally on this side. So everything is upside down. So when you unscrew it, it pops out. Now inside you have the Militare 8203A movement, which is a very reliable, well-respected movement from Citizen. It was first introduced, the 8200 series was first introduced in 1977 and is still going strong, still produced to this day, and is an extremely reliable, robust movement. You've got parashock protection in there. It's a 21 joule movement, 43-hour power reserve, which is really impressive, and of course you have hand winding. Now the hand winding, because again the crown is moved to this position, is upside down, so when you wind it clockwise rather than anti-clockwise, so it's a little bit strange to get your head around the first time you use it, but at least you have hand winding it, which is quite a cool thing at this price range. Put it to the first position to set the day and the date, and then finally you pull it all the way out to set the time. Now it's non-hacking, so not a big disappointment, but you know, especially at this price range. This particular movement, you'll see by the seconds hands, it's kind of stuttering. That's because it operates at 21,600 beats per hour. Now the disadvantage is you get a bit of a stuttering hand there, but the advantage is there's less actual wear and tear on the components of the movement, so it lends for a more reliable, longer lasting movement. So when you screw it back in, you actually have to screw down clockwise, which is it's a little bit difficult to do. I'm not fond of the threading on this. It's not the most, especially with gloves on. There you go, and finally we get it in. It's a little bit finicky, and also the crown is quite small. How does it wear? Let's do a quick wrist shot now. Okay, so here we are having a look on my tiny little wrist, and I gotta say it's extremely comfortable. I'm a little bit eccentric and I tend to wear 2 watches, so when you're wearing it on your right side, it actually makes the crown quite accessible and easy. You can actually unscrew it and do all your business with the watch still on, which is really cool. I must point out that the crown does not protrude too much, so it doesn't really matter. If you wear it on your left, obviously the crown is going to be on the other side, so there's no issues there whatsoever. I've put it on this NATO strap because, well, you guys know I love the NATO straps. When you buy it, it comes on the rubber strap. Now it is worth to point out there are several versions of this particular Citizen. There is a blue dial version, which is very difficult to get. Stunning kind of sunburst blue dial. I really love that version. If I could, I would buy it as well. They are hard to find. And there's also a kind of cream luminescent dial version with the indices negative, so the lume is actually, the entire dial is luminescent, which is really, really cool, but those are very hard to get. They come on these rubber straps that have no decompression limits printed on the strap, which is really, really cool. You know, if you're a diver, it's obviously going to be more useful to you. The rubber is actually quite supple. It's definitely better than the Seiko rubber strap. There's no signing on the buckle or anything fancy like that. It's just, you know, no frills rubber strap. It really comes to life when you fit this on a NATO strap. Because of the black dial and bezel, it pretty much goes with anything. Very, very comfortable. Wears incredibly well because it's got quite a low profile. The lugs kind of curved, so you know, even on the rubber strap it is extremely comfortable. And I've got to say, for the smaller wrist, it wears like a 40mm. It really does wear a hell of a lot smaller. It's definitely much more comfortable than an SKX. So let's just summarize the watch. What are the negatives and the positives of the watch? Well, we'll start with the negatives. The threading of the crown is a little bit finicky to use. I think the design generally is a little bit dated. It's very much a product of its day, It's got the kind of 90s look about it. I can't exactly explain it. Not really negative. I mean, it's kind of charming. I think the Seiko has a more classic design that is a bit more longer lasting. This is very much in the 90s. I mean, the indices, these peculiar shapes. It is very 90s. There's something 90s about it. Having said that, it has aged well, and it's certainly got its own charm and character. Also, the hand winding being upside down, you kind of forget about it, and you end up winding it the wrong way. That just takes a bit of getting used to. The actual bezel, some people don't like this look, but I've got to say the way they've done the grip on the bezel is actually quite good. I find it very, very easy to use, and actually I prefer it to the bezel on this SKX. Okay, so what are the positives? Well, you're getting an iconic dive watch with a real history to it, with pedigree that is respected by the pros. It's ISO certified. It's got a unique design. It's unlike anything out there. I think the crown at this position, it certainly makes it more unique. And I think unique is definitely the word to describe it. It's unlike anything. And I think at this price point, all the features are just unbelievable. Will it knock the SKX off its #1 spot in this price range? I think it'll come close. We're going to do a duel and we'll really break it down. I think it might possibly be the SKX killer. It really might be. I mean, stay tuned. We'll do the duel. I'm still getting to know this piece. You know, I know the SKX very, very well. I've known that watch for decades. I'm still very much in the honeymoon period with this watch. It's a watch that grows on you. It definitely grows on you. It's got its own personality that takes a while to really appreciate. It's also perfect for the smaller wrist, and at the same time, I think will work with larger wrists as well. Okay, now before I go, I'll just do a quick size comparison to the SKX so you can see them there. Mortal enemies. It'll be really interesting to see these two go head to head. I can't wait. So anyway, stay tuned for that. Finally, we should just address its accuracy. Obviously, it's an entry-level piece, so we can't expect, you know, chronometer grade standards, but we're looking, you know, I'm getting about plus 12 seconds a day, something around there, which is perfectly acceptable and absolutely fine at this price range. Extremely easy and affordable to maintain. Anyway guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Let's take it back to the studio. Okay, welcome back guys. Now as you can see, it is a real outstanding watch for the money. Punches way above its weight. I absolutely adore it. I think it's well, I'm never gonna get rid of this. This is permanently gonna stay in my collection. I'm just so thankful to you guys, everybody who put this together. Thank you so much. Hopefully I've done you guys justice with this review. But also stay tuned for the full duel against the legendary SKX. Is the little Citizen going to take the crown away from the SKX? It will be very interesting to see. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you. Thank you NYPD. Thank you. NYPD they obviously enjoy the watch as well. I have no idea what's going on, but something's going on. Anyway guys, I'm going to have to leave it there. It's another hectic day here in New York City. Anyway guys, thank you very, very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, found it useful. And as always guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.